What is up, everybody? Welcome into episode 48 of the Barking Brown Show. I've already forgot what episode this is named after, and Ed will fire it in the comments here real quick, and he'll catch me up. And I am your host, Jacob at Roachism13 on Twitter, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Nick Carnes at Carnesies817 on Twitter. Nick, how are we tonight?
Hi. Wow. So,
what a week.
When we were sitting here last week, we were
Ernie
like,
Green.
well,
It's the Ernie Green episode 48.
Ernie Green. We were like, well, maybe the Browns will have some new guys by the next time we talk. And
Tuesday evening, the last night when we last spoke on the eve of actual free agency, the second day of legal tampering last Tuesday.
I had plans on Friday night, and you know the news broke, and I was like, oh no, I can't leave. I can't go. I have to talk about this.
So I want to real quick, and I know Nick, and we'll bring on our wonderful co-host, wonderful producer, Mr. Ed in Columbus, real quick. I want to touch on the Desean Watson off the field situation. I'm going to do about 30 seconds. We're going to move on it. We're going to talk about football. We're going to talk draft tonight. We're going to talk Will Fuller tonight. And we're going to talk just overall, where do the Browns go from here? Ed's got some great go for it's here later on. Nick's got some great nuances at the end. And we're going to throw in some of my draft corner with a couple of my draft picks that I really, really like. So I want to say this. However you feel about Desean Watson and the Cleveland Browns acquiring Desean Watson, if it's high or low or somewhere in between, you are incredibly entitled to feel that way. You should not be ashamed of how you feel one way or the other. I don't think so. I think you're entitled. You should feel how you feel. And that's it. That's all I'm going to say. I am not a lawyer. I am, not some guy on a pedestal that's going to thump my chest. I'm none of that. I want to say that these are very serious allegations. If they are true, I am not here to tell you if I think anything is true, anything is false. I'm not going to do that. That's not who I'm going to do. We're here to talk about football. If you want to listen to some deep dives, a really, really great raw episode from the ladies at That's What B Said last night, Go check that out. If you want to get into that stuff, please go check that out. They did a wonderful episode last night. You should check that
Especially out. From obviously a woman's perspective.
Yes.
And, that helps.
And that's also why I'm not going to get into it. Because I don't know what it's like. I do not know what it's like.
I've spent a lot of time in spaces, and as of you talking about this and going over it, and you know what? Here's one of the biggest things I realized. A lot of people want like immediate answers, like how do you feel about this? What side are you on? All that. And the more I've talked to people and thought about it, I've realized that this is a process, right? Like we haven't even had an introductory press conference yet. We haven't had questions and answers and honestly, Desean Watson really hasn't spoke a whole lot publicly either. So there's a lot of missing pieces to this puzzle, and everybody seems to want to know like where you stand. And I think it's totally okay to take your time, develop your opinion, and find yourself wherever you want. I did a big tweet about how I feel and how I am going to remain a Browns fan, but I understand everyone deals with this differently. This is a big move, a big choice, a lot. It's a lot, right?
And we respect your decision.
Yeah. And so basically I want anyone to know that listened or did listen, or if you've decided to, remain with us and if you're being a Browns fan or whatever, I wish you all the best, regardless of what you decide.
Absolutely.
As we move forward.
So that's it. Moving on past that. Let's talk football, guys. Thank you again. All the likes, the comments, the subscriptions. I hit over 200,000 views on Dog Pound Daily. Thank you so much. People give a crap what I have to say, and that is awesome. I work really, really hard on those articles. If you got ideas and things you want me to talk about, cover, write about, whatever, hey, hit me up in the DMs at Roachism13 on Twitter, and I will be more than happy. Also, if you just want to hit my DMs up and talk, I talk to several people almost all day long about football, man. And I'm down. Excuse me. And it can be off the field stuff too. I don't care. We'll talk. I wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, I say it every week, the best thing you can give to everybody to someone is some of your time, and I want to thank once again for you giving some of your time to us. We are ecstatic. Let's talk football. Ed, come on down, buddy, and tell us what we got going on tonight.
Well, we got a great show because we got two great hosts. Love you guys. We're going to get into some serious topics, not into the legal aspects or anything like that. We want to stay on the field. But I do want to give my perspective about this and the fact that do you, and I said that last night on the dog chug, do you, whatever you need to do you. But from my perspective, I'm always going to do Cleveland. I'm a CLE till I die. And I'll say one thing. Being a Cleveland Browns fan living in Columbus makes me feel like I'm a part of Cleveland, my hometown, where I was born, and I love it. I'm never going to apologize for that. And I'll say one thing. If those that are struggling with, the fact to be a Browns fan or not, I'll say one thing. Don't let this situation make you a hostage of what you really want to do in your heart. If you love the Cleveland Browns were the Cleveland Browns before Deshaun Watson, and they will be the Cleveland Browns after Deshaun Watson. And I understand maybe this is a period that you need to step away. And if that's what you need to do, these people that are saying, I'm not going to be a Browns fan anymore, that's fine. And maybe you won't be a Browns fan during the Deshaun Watson tenure or however long it takes. Don't feel ashamed about it. You can still love your city. You can still do some good things for the city. Do something else on a Sunday if you want. Just be constructive with your time. That's all I'm asking. And you know what? The day that you come back, I won't hold it against you. You're a Cleveland Browns fan, and I just wanted to know that you're loved no matter what your decision is, and that's really just what I want to convey. But you know what, guys? Let's rock and roll like we always do.
And that was
Fire
beautiful.
those Twitter comments
Thanks, Ed.
and we're gonna rock and roll, guys. Let's do this.
Ed, while you're here, I want to say, Ed, you are a wonderful supporter of us. You've always been a supporter of us, and now here you are as a producer. And we do have a shirt winner, and I know we all know who it is, and so I would like, if you want to announce it, Ed, that would be really cool.
Well, I got to give up to my guy. This guy has been a strong supporter of not only the show, The Barking Browns, but a big Ed and Columbus fan. I love this guy. MC Lawrence is your shirt winner. So MC Lawrence, you will be receiving a shirt from Zabo Apparel. We love them. And Nick, tell everybody about how great Zabo is.
Look at this. Zabo, listen, he told me at one time, I said, hey, what do you want me to say when we promote you? And he said, tell the people that it is apparel for the diehard fan by a diehard fan. It's a veteran-owned organization. There you go. That's all you need to know about Zabo. That's it.
You take a look at the website. They have all kinds of great gear. Any team you're looking for, Cleveland. I believe they have Ohio State and Blue Jackets as well. But MC Lawrence, I'm really glad you're going to be able to pick your shirt, and I will DM you about that. But I just want to say to everybody, thank you for continuing, because a lot of our Patreon members have been with us since we started it, and that's such dedication. Now that we're getting very close, dangerously close, I should say, to the year mark of the show, and so it's been quite a ride so far, and I cannot wait to see where we go in the future. So thank you. Exclusive
film studies. We've got a quarterback film study coming up for the Patreon this weekend. Ed, we'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Thanks, Ed.
Yes, sir.
We got a film study. We've done some tight end studies, some safety, some D tackles, some edge rushers. We were going to do center, and I never got around to it yet, but we're going to do quarterback. We're going to look at Watson. We're going to look at Jacoby Brissett this weekend, and we're going to try to watch some of that stuff and break some of that stuff down. But guys, go ahead.
I just want to address something real quick. Someone of the two of us has a victory lap in order, and that someone's not me. Somebody said that he thought Baker Mayfield played his last game as a Brown. And I know that's like a sensitive issue, but the point is that Jacob knew that this was coming long before it came. He's got his crystal ball and that brain of his, and Jacob, you were right. And I was not convinced, and here we are.
It was just like, so for me, it wasn't about tearing down Baker Mayfield. I've never made it a point to tear down Baker Mayfield. Like, I've always felt like my situation, I've always felt that, like, what I try to do really hard is just be honest and be truthful and just give you plainly what I see, what I think, what I feel. I care diehard like you guys. I'm as diehard as they come, and it just, man, it looks like it was worse than we thought. I mean, as more and more stuff continues to come out, I'm not going to sit here and shit on Baker Mayfield. I don't care to do that. I have no reason to do that. If you want to do that, you do you. I don't care. But it wasn't just about the level of play, and I was honest about the level of play. I also wrote an article for Dog Pound Daily about a month or so ago where I gave you 3 reasons he could also succeed in 2022, as well as 3 reasons he could fail. Drew in Brick City brings up the reverse Brockmosis in terms of maybe giving up a pick with Mayfield to trade him like we did for Brock Osweiler. I think he still has more value than that because he doesn't have a really stupid contract like Brock Osweiler. But yeah, that would stink. But it was the play, it was the off the field antics, and now that you're told, like when Ben Albright sits there last week and he says, the rift between Stefanski and Baker was the worst kept secret in football or in the NFL. It lines up. It lines up to the things that Baker said in season. It lines up to the body language of him and his teammates on the field. It lines up to the stuff he says on Twitter. Like, people pointed out things and we thought they were ragging on, but like it's all coming to fruition. Like, he doesn't mention the Browns in his rehab surgery video, which was kind of weird. And we thought it didn't really mean something, but maybe it did. And, Mary Kay, listen, people need to go apologize to Mary Kay. She's been right all along, and you just didn't want to hear it. Yep. I said the same things. She just said it more, and you didn't want to hear it. Here's the thing. When she trashed OBJ on his way out, that fit the narrative. So everybody was ecstatic. You know what? I'm passionate about this because I'm sick and tired of watching that woman take hateful, stupid, and just ill-informed hate for being right.
She was right.
Guys, she has connections with Dee Haslam. Do you know who that is? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not nobody. She has sources. She's right. She's connected.
And I want to say I was one of the people that defended Baker. I did not attack Mary Kay, but I defended Baker when that article came out. And I emailed her and I apologized for doing so because it wasn't fair to her. Everything was so crappy with the Browns. I just read that like Baker came out and defended himself. And I was like, yeah, I want to be on team. But, it's like I want things to be okay with the team. I don't want Mary Kay's story to be true. I don't want there to be drama. So I'm just going to put on my blinders. And I'm just going to be like, yeah, Baker says so. And that wasn't fair to her. It wasn't. Yep. And she deserved an apology. And she got one. So
right, and that's very mature of you. I appreciate it, and I understand that she reached out to you and had responded and thanked you for that, and that's really awesome. But it's like I see it everywhere. Like people use this word clickbait. Yeah, you do realize that when you write, you make a title that makes people want to read it. Like this is how this works. That's the job. We, as writers, and I don't consider myself a real sports journalist. I just do it for fun, I think. And, but as writers, like we want you to read our stuff. Why the heck else am I doing it? Right now, you can say that you don't like certain titles and that they're not accurate enough or whatever, but like, she is a real, true, honest, hardworking journalist. And like, you don't have to agree with her takes, then don't follow her. But you do not need to attempt to drag her through the mud. Now, I'm not going at you, Nick, because I know that yours was a chain of events where kind of you said something and then a bunch of people jumped onto it and made it worse than what you had intended it to be. But like, it's just she was right the whole time and the writing was on the wall. And I knew it at Pittsburgh. That second Pittsburgh lost was, for me, that's when I started saying it privately. I knew I'd get buried online, so I never said it. You can ask Ed, you can ask Nick, you can ask Andy Manchin, Ross, Jess, all of our group chat. I was saying it then. I wasn't going to say it publicly. That was when I knew it was over. But if you go back and look, it was over. It was clearly over after he did not speak to the press after a win against Detroit a few weeks prior to that. That was when it was over.
I don't want to linger too bad on Baker. I just want to say two things. Number one, I will always support Baker Mayfield for the things he accomplished in Cleveland. He's and some people don't realize this. He's the best quarterback in a Browns uniform I've ever seen, right? And that Jacob's ever seen, right? So that means something, right? People may look at it and in a vacuum, he wasn't amazing, but in Cleveland, when you have a list a mile long of quarterback names since 1999, it's significant, and I think that's something that people outside of here don't get. But second, as I've reflected on it and as I've thought about Baker, because literally I've just been in spaces talking to Browns fans constantly, what I realized is when Baker said, and I've never heard anything like this before, when Baker said, I decide if I play, right? I should have realized right then and there, like there is a rift. There is something going on between him, head coach, front office. There's
weird.
It's just weird. Right?
It was weird, and we didn't want to admit it was weird. I didn't even want to admit it was weird.
Yeah, and so that's what I should have known.
Like, that's the sort of stuff that I'm saying hindsight's 2020. That's the stuff that then adds up even more. And, it makes sense when we realize that all those players were siding with Odell when he left. The biggest issue was not I said this in space yesterday, right? On Monday when we were talking, I said it in a space. I said, they sided with the quarterback over Beckham because Beckham didn't really want to be there anyway, but because they didn't want to tank on the season. Changing quarterbacks and rolling with Case the rest of the year, even with OBJ, was kind of punting on the season at that point. It was too early to do it because Stefanski and Barry, they're not wired to tank or go for higher draft picks. Like, they're going to win. It's evident by the fact that they played Baker as much as they did, even though it turns out they didn't really believe in him. There's these rumors that they wanted to move on after 2020, but then he made the playoffs and won a playoff game, and it was nearly impossible, so they thought maybe they could work on it. There's data and stats and information that shows that even in his great run in 2020, there were issues that were masked because of the play around him, and that they kind of took a lot of teams by surprise. Roger says we're still going to ride with 6 when JOK switches to 6. If JOK switches to 6, it'll be interesting. I just bought my dad a JOK 28 jersey though, so I'm gonna be really pissed. Wow. Kelly says if Jarvis comes back, it makes Baker look bad. I think him already saying he wants to come back after Baker is leaving makes him look bad. Yep. It's just I'm not going to shit on the guy anymore.
Yeah,
but I'm going to say, guys, it was there. And just because you like and I'm not knocking you if you like the guy, you go, if we're just a Browns fan because of him and you want to follow him to wherever he goes. Yeah, man, that's you. Do you. I'm never going to tell a fan how to fan, but it was there. And just because you like the guy, you're now seeing the NFL is showing you he's not well liked outside of here.
Yeah.
So you can think what you think about him, but the NFL is showing you what they think of him, and it's that they don't really care.
I'll tell you something though. I picked up a tweet of a Pittsburgh radio host, Andrew Filipponi, who said
I just saw this. Go ahead. I just saw this. Yeah.
They had callers today because so obviously Baker hasn't been traded yet, and there's a lot of speculation that his value isn't very high. Because of a variety of things, right? Like he's got fully guaranteed money. They
coming off of surgery.
Surgery. He has maturity questions, lots of different things, right? And obviously his play last year was suboptimal, given even with circumstances. But he said that despite the fact that the Steelers have Mitch Trubisky, if Baker Mayfield was cut, they had people in Pittsburgh Steelers fans calling the radio today and saying, "Well, if Baker Mayfield's cut, we want Baker Mayfield in Pittsburgh." Like.
It's so wild.
We've arrived here. I don't.
And that's not a knock at Baker. That's not what that is.
No.
It's that Pittsburgh fans have shit on us about Baker Mayfield for 4 years, and now they're like, well,
yeah. It's just like
when he's available, he's not so bad after all.
Yeah, not using. You better go delete those Baker midfield quote tweets.
Midfield.
Baker Mayfield. Yeah, all Baker those. Midfield. Better go delete those, buddy.
Those That's it, man. Like,
Yeah.
we're not gonna rag on him. We're just gonna talk like, hey, there it was. That is the truth. The numbers say what the numbers say, and
I wish him well. That's all I can do. I thanked him, and that's it.
You know what, Andy? I'm going to answer this question. All right. You said Andy, our good friend Andy Lytle says, who could have thought Six's value could be this bad? You. And you're trying to do victory laps, Andy. He is, because me and him had this conversation yesterday, and then I see him slide into that comment. I'm like, that motherfucker's trying to do a victory lap.
Yeah, well.
Greg Blair says, bad game pressers. Yeah, man. Like, it all adds up, man. In my opinion, when you're looking at these things, it all adds up. So let's move on, man. Like, let's talk. You know what? I want to talk wide receivers, and and we're going to transition into Will Fuller, who I'm currently like campaigning for in the free agency circle. And we'll talk about some wide receivers, some draft wide receivers a little bit later when we get to my draft corner. We'll get Ed's Go For It is coming up here, our next segment, after we talk here a little bit about some wide receivers. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, people are talking about bringing Jarvis Landry back. And Andy, I saw that comment and I am not addressing it because I know how tongue-in-cheek it is.
You might. Ed, so for those who don't, I sent a big thank you Baker tweet, which was my biggest tweet ever. So thank you, Baker, for my biggest tweet ever. I appreciate you even more so for that.
But I don't know if he's talking about your thank you letter or Baker's.
Oh, Baker's thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. That was yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That'd be awkward.
I know he's being tongue-in-cheek about it.
Baker posted a thank you letter on Twitter for anyone who didn't see it, and now if he gets traded, Andy saying, well, is Baker going to do a second thank you?
Or me, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I don't
know. And Andy derailed my conversation. No, I know. I love Andy. He knows it. Yeah. So, I want to talk about wide receivers. There's a lot of people talking about Jarvis Landry wanting to come back now with Deshaun Watson in there. Although he said Baker, he said he would love it. He needs it. That's what he's talking about. So, the rumor was that Jarvis was interested in Atlanta, and it was because of Deshaun Watson. I saw a report today that was never true, that it was because of Watson that he was going down there. So it doesn't necessarily mean he's coming back. My understanding is they were working on it. There was mutual interest, and he just wants more money than the Browns are going to give him, which was the issue with him getting cut the first time. I put out a tweet. I'm very pro Will Fuller right now. And I'm going to tell you why. If you haven't had the opportunity, it's pinned to the top of my profile on Twitter. I wrote a little article for Dog Pound Daily, came out Sunday morning about Will Fuller and why I think it could be a great pairing. I know there's some injury concerns, but we'll address that as well. Kind of give you some of the cliff notes on there here in a second. But I'm campaigning for him, and I got some people telling me, we want Jarvis Landry back. And I'm going to tell you why I don't. And I love Jarvis Landry, and people know I love Jarvis Landry. And I'm thankful for, the leadership and the attitude. I don't know how much of an actual culture changer he was, but he played a part. I can 100% get on board with that. The Browns want to get more explosive, man. They've been basically playing red zone offense the length of the field for 2 years because they can't get vertical. They can't drag coverage. They can't, do any of that. It's they've got a bunch of possession guys that, Jarvis is a shiftier guy. He's had some injuries the last couple of years that have hindered his shiftiness, and the fact that he's not a straight burner, it's hindered him. He's had some, knee injury and the rib injury and some things like that. He's going to be 30 during the season. He's a 4.77 guy. You're not getting more explosive bringing Jarvis Landry back. And that's just, I need to get explosive. I need yards after the catch. I need to finally see crossing routes with the coverage pulled away from it so they can run after the catch. So you can get them in space.
My heart wants Jarvis Landry back.
Yeah, so does mine.
You know what I'm saying? And it would be really cool. I tweeted about Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham today. I just think it would be cool. Like, there's such that narrative, that you go to Cleveland, your career dies, and off you go, right? And it would be so nice to see Jarvis and Odell win in Cleveland and like have that stuff dispelled. But I understand none of that makes the most sense and thus is unlikely. It just would be fun.
Yeah, sure, it'd be fun. But like when you look at it right now, look at that wide receiver room. You got Jakeem Grant, who's going to take up a roster spot, but it's going to be mostly special teams. And boy, God, could they use it.
Please.
97-yard kick return touchdown last year. So if you don't believe it happens, it just happened. Amari Cooper, who I think is one of the best route runners, but still not. He's a 4.4 guy, but he's still not a true real burner. Great number one wide receiver, but you're still looking for that speed. DPJ, possession guy with big play potential. Kind of a little bit of a less developed Amari Cooper, kind of some of those, because Amari can go deep and so can he, but this just not consistently going to beat all of the corners vertical. Mm-hmm. Schwartz, he still needs to learn how to play. He's in a great spot with one of the best. He doesn't know how to run routes, but he's got one of the best route runners in the game right now, and he's learned some from Jarvis Landry last year. And would he benefit from more Jarvis Landry this year? He would, absolutely. So that side of things, I'm with you on it. But he still needs to learn, and that's it, right? That's kind of where you're at. But you're looking at what, 4 or 5 right there. So I still think you're going to draft one, and you need to sign one more. And that's where I think you're at. There's not room to bring in Jarvis because I need someone to get vertical, stretch the field, and be a big play waiting to happen. And it just doesn't make sense.
The last time Will Fuller played with Deshaun Watson, he caught 8 touchdowns, then had almost 1,000 yards. And Amari Cooper also in Dallas had 8 touchdowns, right? So that pairing there, that's the money for me.
I'm going to give you, in his career, I'm going to give you right now Will Fuller's stats with Deshaun Watson. This is why I want Fuller, because before this, he misses a lot of games. I had no interest in him, but once Deshaun Watson came here, that's where we're at. So in his numbers, in 33 games with Deshaun Watson in Houston, Fuller had 140, so essentially 2 full seasons that he was healthy, 33 games. Now it's 34, I guess. I was trying to do the math real quick, so I guess it's Fuller had 147 catches, 2,331 yards, and 22 touchdowns.
Yes, please.
So there's familiarity. Fuller does one thing, man. Gets vertical, and he does it fast. That's what I mean. He was a first-round pick, and he could only do that thing, and that's pretty consistently what he'd been. I understand. Going into this year, he had missed like 27 games with injury. He had the PAD suspension. I get that. But Will Fuller's coming in here to be wide receiver 3 behind DPJ and Cooper, maybe a rookie. He's a situational guy. He's a field stretcher. Listen, Kevin Stefanski is going to evolve this offense. He spent an hour with an iPad with Deshaun Watson showing him plans. Not only did he praise Watson, he was one of the few coaches, from my understanding, that was willing to show Watson areas where he struggled and what he would do to improve them. Watson always says, coach me hard, right? Yeah. He wants to be coached hard. That is part of the pitch that made Watson come back to the Browns after eliminating them. It was not the other way around. So think about those things. That was the Athletic, Jason Lloyd. Is that correct? Was it Jason? It was Jason Lloyd.
Well, no.
It was the Athletic. I'm trying to think who wrote it that was talking about it. I know it was at the Athletic. Nick or Ed, one of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry.
I'm not sure. Ed might be able to look up which Athletic writer wrote the one about Deshaun Watson.
And I just want to say, like if you're looking at Anthony Schwartz's development, like he sure looks good as Will Fuller's backup. So
I was going to say he projects well to being Will Fuller.
That would be wonderful. I would love that. Yeah. So I think it makes a lot of sense given the fact that he's 27, already has, and that's something about Deshaun Watson hasn't played in a year, right?
Yep.
So if you give him someone he's comfortable with, I'm
sure
that would help.
That's part of it. keep in mind, guys, Deshaun Watson is younger than Baker Mayfield.
Insane.
I'm not going to heap all this praise on Deshaun Watson and stuff like that. Jeff Howe. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Ed. He was the one at The Athletic that wrote that article. I'm not going to heap all of it on because it still kind of feels weird. And it's so clouded. But if you're looking at what this offense wants to be, Will Fuller, he lines up, man. He's not going to cost much. He only played 4 games last year with Miami. He's not going to cost you anything. So, like, that's my point. You push for him. They got $26 million in cap right now with Baker on there, with Deshaun on there, before getting the $9 million that they'll get for Hooper post June 1. So you're in a great spot to continue to add talent. And in the wide receiver room, the last thing, in my opinion, that the offense needs, then maybe a depth piece in the interior. But although I'll get into that when we get into the draft corner, because I'm kind of leaning draft for backup center anyway. Although you might want a veteran because, Nick Harris has never been the regular starter, and I understand those concerns there. But we'll get into that kind of stuff. But Will Fuller could be the last piece you need on offensive free agency before the draft, and then finding out what you get, and then you fill some role guys and some things right there. But I just think it makes sense for what they're going to do. Jarvis doesn't. My understanding is that Watson wants Fuller and or Jarvis Landry. Okay. And, I mean, they were willing to accommodate him in the way that they did to bring him here. So why wouldn't you go all in with the guy that you have gone all in with?
At least, you know what? This is the first time the Browns really have options in that way, right? Because
people want to come to Cleveland now.
Yeah,
it's reality,
and that's crazy and awesome. So I'm not sure how all this is going to play out. Andrew Berry's definitely playing it slowly. I think there's a few different factors that go into that. So I think it's going to develop, because keep in mind, Jadeveon Clowney did not make his decision last year until April 15th, right? So, like, there were a lot of significant signings the Browns made.
It felt like it came out of nowhere, too, because, like, it had gotten so,
Yeah, it was just like you forgot Jadeveon Clowney was out there, and we were waiting to see what happens. So I would just say that I imagine, especially, too, because, obviously they were negotiating this Deshaun Watson trade, that, like, that was hugely impactful in their free agent search and all of that. And now and a lot of people are smarter than me with the cap and all of that stuff. But personally, I feel like they are being hesitant to be active. And you can tell me what you think, Jacob. But I feel like they're being hesitant to be active in free agency because they want to figure out how they're moving Baker Mayfield's contract so that they can fully say, okay, this is how much room we have. Because it's the Baker thing, the Baker saga. Every day a different piece of news comes out about who might want him, who doesn't want him, and what his worth is, and all that stuff. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out. And I think that's why we're seeing a more conservative approach from Andrew Berry this time around.
Yeah, well, okay. So I got a couple of comments on that, and I'll push back just a little bit, and I'll say that he does not need the splash. He had 2 splash plays, and people don't seem to. Well, when people talk about the one, but the splash things are Cooper. You got to remember, he's already acquired a number 1 wide receiver, and he's acquired a top 10 quarterback at this point. I got the question over here: will Watson even be able to play in the first half of the season? I have no idea. I have zero inkling, zero feeling on how that's going to go. I think the NFL would prefer for the civil suits to be settled or dropped or whatever,
however that ends,
or gone to trial, however they get resolved. That's the word I'm looking for. I think they would prefer for that before they kind of, figure out what they want to do in that in that realm.
And that's why you signed Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, that's why Jacoby Brissett. I think he can go 3-3. Like if it's 6 games, I think he can go 3-3 and stuff like that. I will say that it's evident that Andrew Berry understands the market and he's not overpaying. That's why he hasn't made a big signing. That's why he's letting free agency come to him. That's what good teams do. I mean, look at Minnesota's deal with Zadarius Smith. Look at Teron Armstead, who just signed a massive deal in Miami. don't have to go crazy at some of these picks. There's still so much talent out there at the positions that the Browns need. Like you said, you got Clowney in April.
Yeah.
It sucks because we were used to kind of some a little bit more flurry moves, so to speak, this early in the draft. And it just hasn't come. I'm no way worried about the money. I think they're being patient with Baker Mayfield's mark. You don't have to move Baker Mayfield today. It is March 22nd. You don't have to move them. They're not going to be worked into desperation with signings or trades. And I think that's why they're just kind of, going with the flow.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And like the draft is at the end of next month, right? So obviously a lot's going to play out there, and that might help shape the market, right? Because there could be a team right now that is targeting a couple different quarterbacks in the draft, and maybe if they miss out on their guy suddenly, then Baker Mayfield is a viable option. Because I don't think, like, there's a lot of these reports that are talking about like Baker having like no value and all this stuff, and I don't think regardless of what you think about Baker Mayfield, I still think the guy has upside, right? Like it's not like he's never played well in his life or wasn't injured last year, like if Baker was outright terrible and he was uninjured, then sure, right? But I think to a team,
the interesting thing about Baker, if he doesn't work out, if you trade for him and he doesn't work out, he's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah. So then,
I think the Browns end up eating probably close to half his salary. I think ultimately that's what teams are trying to bait him into doing.
Well,
that's what I think. I don't know. All right, we are going to bring on our great producer, Ed. He's got some go-for-its here for us. We'll do that transition a little bit over into some draft stuff as well as we go and we move along here. So, Ed, lay it on us, man.
Okay, I got 2 questions. The first one, now this has to do with a little bit of salary cap stuff, because here's my thinking about this question, okay? And the question is, would you go for it and try to move on from Kareem Hunt? And here's why. I think that this coming year, we're going to have Jacoby Brissett probably play 6 games. I think if you're the Browns, I think that you obviously want to make the playoffs this year. I mean, that should be the goal every year. But I think that looking at this, 5-year deal for Watson, I think years 2, 3, and 4 are really Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl. That is really the goal. And I think with Kareem Hunt, this will probably be the last year. And I think that, you can probably get that. I like that Georgia running back that we were looking at
I like James Cook,
a lot. Yeah. So my question, once again, to rephrase, is go for it, keeping Kareem Hunt or not?
Well, I guess I'm not cutting him. That doesn't make any sense to me personally. It could be interesting. So I think it's really interesting. The reports are that Demetric Felton's going to spend more time in the running back room than he did last year and primarily be in that room. They did tender to Dearness Johnson. I thought for a second they weren't going to, but at that point, because I thought maybe they were going to move Felton in there and they're going to let Johnson walk. And they still could, because it's a right. It's just a rights of first refusal. So if he signs something and they don't want to match it, they'll just let him walk. They just have the opportunity to match it before he walks. So I think that's kind of insurance if they do. If someone calls and gives a day 2 pick for him, I think they would do it. And I think I would go for it. I know previously I got some people that came after me on Twitter because I said I wouldn't. That also kind of changed when this offense is kind of shifting into a different gear because of the quarterback situation that's going on here.
Sure.
By the way, Jacoby Brissett, I was really mean to you when you first got signed here, and I wanted to apologize for that because you are a quality backup and better than I give you credit for.
I think he's okay.
I was mean. And Andy Lytle called him Jabroni Brissett, and he also apologized for that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say yes on the caveat that it's for a late day 2 or early day 3 draft pick.
Fair enough.
I'm going to put myself on the other side of the fence there, and I'm going to say no. And the reason I'm going to say no is that the Browns are officially in going for it mode, right? And I think Kareem Hunt was secretly your best running back last year for until he got hurt, right? And Nick Chubb got hurt last year as well. So I want to have two studs in that spot. And if the Browns are if the goal of the season is to win a Super Bowl, I am not getting rid of guys that are that talented, because I want every, like, if Nick, I don't even want to say that. I'm not going down that road.
Don't say that.
But I'm not saying it. But in any case, you would probably want somebody as good as Kareem Hunt to be there in that kind of scenario.
I would also argue that depending on the size of the suspension, you may need to lean on the running game a little bit longer than you will next year, so to speak.
Yeah. So for me, so I'm saying no, Ed.
Well, I just want to congratulate myself on a great question, because it's a great question when you get two different answers and both of them I look at they were well executed, but they're both right. I mean, they're both. I mean, honestly, they're both right, and that's why
Yeah.
And my next question, now this one is more of a social question about Browns Nation, because we love our Cleveland Browns. And I have been getting into spaces lately. I tend to, Browns After Dark. I like to give them a shout out because they put on a good show.
10 o'clock tonight. They'll be
10 o'clock.
Those hooligans will be rolling through.
I'm off.
Shout out to them.
See you there.
I'm too old.
Nice. So my thing is this. So I've been dabbling into them, and what I like about it is that you get to hear people actually talk. Because one thing, would we say, Nick, that you get labeled sometimes as being positive, which sometimes is, I don't know, in this world I think there needs to be more positivity, but for some reason they look at that as a bad thing. Would you say that's pretty fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say
but when I've been in there, Nick, nothing but praise for you. You're a cool guy. And I think what it does is it kind of heals Browns Nation. We don't have to always agree with every opinion, but it's one thing to just get on Twitter and fire off a troll tweet at you, Nick, but it's one thing to actually talk to you. That's the thing with I tell my kids this all the time. It's easy to just snipe them on social media, but you actually have to see them face to face. Usually you'd be friends, and that's the thing, So I always think that's why I do like Spaces. I want to give a shout out to them and other forms and other platforms. So my question, I know it's very long-winded, is
for like a week, all of last week, there was a Brown space for like 24 straight hours.
Yes. And I think that's what we've needed. So my question is, would you encourage Browns fans to just spend some time in there? I know some people more introverted than extroverted, but as an exercise for themselves, maybe to help them formulate an opinion if they are having a rough time with being a Cleveland Browns fan. Would you go for it and say, hey, just jump into a space or jump into some kind of social media platform and communicate with fellow Browns fans to try to get a better perspective? Would you go for it?
Yes, I will go for it, and I'll tell you why. There are very separate sides of this Deshaun Watson trade. And I have heard more civil discussion in the spaces than I ever thought. Like the way
I used to like rag on him because I thought it was just because some of them are ran. Some of them, sometimes people leading them attack the other people and Nick, I'm with you. Go ahead.
So I'll say that anyone that spends time with us on Twitter probably knows that Sean and I don't get along very well. Well, one night we just like hung out in spaces and talked for a while, and now we're following each other. So I don't know, man. All I'm saying
breaking news.
All I'm saying is that if Sean and I can get along, anybody, I'm telling you that you won't find two more opposite people than Sean and I. And you know what? It's just like
he's telling the truth.
So I'm just saying, like, it's a super. You know what? You can only gather so much from text. It's a lot harder, and I think that's why people fight. Especially when you can hear a person's inflection in their voice and just like how they're.
You can tell they're not trying to be a dick. They're just answering your question,
and it just helps. I feel like I have made so many new friends in such a small time. With this, I would very much encourage, even if you just listen, it's really good.
I and Nick and Drew in the Brick City mentions this too, which I've met this person and so have you. The fake Nick Carnes.
Yes, there is a fake Nick
Hey,
Carnes.
when you got your own parent, you made it big time when you got your own fake account.
He does poems and everything.
He
does.
he tried to have a poem off with the real Nick Carnes the other night, and it was the funniest thing I have ever heard in my life.
But that's what we need. That's what we need. We need
It is. It is. And Nick was speechless. And I got to
Yep.
say that I talk way more than Nick. I know that. But rendering Nick speechless in the way that he did was impressive in my opinion. Because he came in there. He said he's the real Nick Carnes, right? Like, oh, that one was the one where he did a rhyme about being the real Nick Carnes. That one got
he said, I'll see you in the mirror.
He did. I will go for it. And I will say that there are some people that, so I run a space every Sunday at 9, and I hop in and out of Nick's during the day when I'm on lunch and some things like that. But the warden and Brown's analytics bot and myself host a space Sundays at 9 p.m. and everybody is welcome to that. I have had several people who weren't comfortable, like speaking, but DM me during the space and asked me a question, and all of us talked about it. Me and the warden and Brown's bot, and we had some other people, that had their mics turned on at the time. And sorry, I was trying to swallow and I couldn't do it right. And it was, this guy's like, hey, I'm a little too nervous. I didn't want to really join, but what do you think about Wyatt Teller? He seems really close with Baker Mayfield. Do you think that he won't try as hard or something like that? And I thought that was a great question. And I answered his question, and he had a follow-up question. And we hit that and that kind of things. And we all discussed it and that sort of stuff. So even if you're, shy and you don't want to take the microphone, man, go in there and just listen. I tell you guys all the time that us doing this show, it's like it's therapy. We can talk through our feelings. We can talk about the games and things like that, man. I'm telling you, this fandom, we are crazy, but we got each other's backs. I know we hate each other because our opinions differ, but when you actually get into it and you're talking with other fans, they're accepting in these spaces, and I highly recommend it.
You know what? I don't even know if the Baker Mayfield wars would have been half as bad if we had just been using spaces the whole time. Honestly, I know that's kind of funny to say.
It's where a lot of the civil, actual good discourse is taking place.
The best diplomacy is conversation. Yeah. You got to have conversation if you want to get over. That's what I found with these things, and I'm glad that you guys are continuing to do them. And like I said, Jacob, 9:00 on Sunday nights have been great. And Nick, you've been hitting them up in the middle of the day, whenever, and then Browns After Dark has been doing their thing. And so I wanted to bring that up. I wanted to shout out to everybody that's hosted, that's contributed. But even if you just want to jump in and listen and get your feet wet, I encourage you to do that. I think we're all Browns fans. We're going to get through this because that's what Cleveland does. That's what Browns fans do. Yeah. And, that's one thing I'm very proud of, our fan base for coming together. And I hope that they continue to do so. So thank you, guys.
Ed, I appreciate it, man. We will get you back on for the final segment here in a little bit, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, Nick, I think it is time for your nuances here. I know you have one that's good for you going up, and then we will hop on over to my draft corner and we will put a bow on this thing. Pat, I see your question about special teams. I'm going to let Nick do his nuances, and I will address your question. We will address the question before we do draft corner.
Thanks, Jacob. I'm going to try and keep this pretty concise, but I mean, obviously we've been, since the Deshaun Watson trade dropped on Friday,
it's been a whirlwind, man.
It's just, I mean, that's been everything, right? Like the Cavs game was on. I was just reading about Deshaun Watson, talking to people about Deshaun Watson. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like dwarfed everything else, and people feel all over the map about it, and I totally understand that. And like we said, we acknowledge that. But I think part of what Deshaun Watson brings is less obvious, and I think it's important piece to this puzzle because First Energy Stadium was built in 1999. Okay, it has never seen a playoff game ever, not once, not one, right? And with the Deshaun Watson trade, the Browns finally have brought themselves a legitimate, arguable top 5 quarterback, and that and the idea that the Browns are going to be competitive, like we don't know how good they're going to be, but we know they'll be competitive, right? And when the Browns are good, obviously we're all happy, but there's so much more to that, right? Like when the Browns are good, excitement stays up. People keep going downtown. Even when the weather gets crappy. I mean, I'm a victim of it myself. It got to a certain point in the season where I was like, "Oh no, I'm not standing out in the cold for this team that you know."
You tried to get me to go to the Lions game and tailgate.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it just gets to that point, right? You know, less people go, but like when people are excited, it's like that you pack downtown. You're giving business to all the local things down there. You're buying extra gear from people like Zabo Apparel and helping their family and their local business, and you're driving and bringing extra revenue to so many places and people that really need it, right? Like the city itself benefits from having a great football team. You know, and there's so much more to that. Like people that do shows, selling, people that create Browns, whatever. Right. You know, just in general, like there was a whole trickle down effect of just people that this move helps that dramatically improves their lives. Right. Like it creates space and creates paths to pursue and just being passionate about the Browns or, you know, there's more people that get employed downtown. There's more money that flows there. I feel like our city and the Browns fans themselves, whether you make like custom Browns shirts or cups or do a podcast or whatever you do. I mean, there's infinite things that I can't even think about. And that's the point, right? When the Browns are good, all of those people and our city benefits. And I think it's important to keep that in mind as we move forward, because yes, there is obviously a lot of questions surrounding the whole trade, but there are many people that stand to benefit just from having a good Browns team. And the Browns definitely took a step towards that with this trade. And so I'm just trying to add a little bit to it.
Lining.
Yeah, it definitely is a silver lining. And I'm
to
really
what some
really
people thought was a dark day.
Yeah. Like
I'm still telling you what, that is the biggest, no matter positive or negative, whatever you think about the trade, that was the single biggest piece of Browns news in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Easily.
That's something I've talked about this in the spaces with people. Somebody said this to me. Somebody said, this is the biggest trade in NFL history. And I sat there for a moment and I was like, is that a thing? Is that real? And they said, think about all the elite quarterbacks that have ever been traded, right? None of them are ever none of them are ever 26. You don't get, like when Peyton Manning was traded, you're like, okay, cool. Like, I mean, obviously he was still great, but you knew he was near the end. Russell Wilson.
Well, and you didn't know what he was going to give you because he was coming off missing a year for injury.
Yeah. Yes. And Russell Wilson was traded to Denver this year, same place. And you know what? If Russell Wilson was traded to Cleveland, we would be shouting from the rooftops and making billboards and everything. But you know, you only got like 5-ish years of top Russell Wilson. But when Deshaun Watson is traded to Cleveland, I mean, he's 26 years old. That's a decade. You're talking about.
I think he would still be traded without the allegations, just for what it's worth.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
He already wanted out.
Yeah. So that's what we're talking about here. And I know you can't celebrate this trade like that. It's not, but it's important to realize how big of a deal this trade is.
Yeah. I didn't believe it when I read it. I'm still telling you right now that was still the weirdest bit of news. All right, guys, we are going to slide on over into my draft corner here. We're going to talk about a few players real quick. I want to say Drew asks about Christian Watson for North Dakota State. I like Christian Watson again a lot. He's 22 and he's probably a day 2 pick, and he's pushing the age guardrails. I've had Jack Duffin tells me he's over. Stephen Thomas had told me he's fine. It's like he's somewhere in this, like he may be over, he may be under. So I love Christian Watson because he's like 6'4", 215, and runs a 4.38. I don't know. Like if you're talking about pure raw intangibles, that is awesome. He's got some some drop issues, a little bit of refinement he needs on route running, some things that he's got some issues here and there. But I think he'd have to slide a little bit, maybe to 78 or 99 for them to make that move, I think, because it's going to push the age guardrails. It's also going to depend. Do they get Will Fuller? Do they where do they think, how developed is Watson? How much time, Christian Watson, like how, I realize now that I have to specify that. And like, how soon until he's a contributor? There's like all these questions. I love Christian Watson a lot. I want him on the board. I want him considered on day 2. If he's there at 78, I think you have to have a really hard, long conversation about the age restrictions and the fact that this draft is a little bit older. We're going to go real quick into some guys in the trenches. And I'm going to talk about a center, and I'm going to talk about a defensive tackle. And that's where we're going to do that. And then we're going to bring Ed on here and see what his final thoughts are. I real quick want to bring up my article on these guys. Let's see. I wanted to bring this up so that I don't misspeak on any of the things that I say, because I can do that from time to time. My mock on Saturday. I'll end up like telling you, like measurables are hard for me sometimes, like size and weight.
Yeah.
Like and I like to be able to tell you guys those sorts of things, but it messes me a little bit. So Cam Jurgens. So Cam Jurgens is a center from Nebraska. I like him somewhere on day 3. Some people have him back end of day 2, so we can see kind of that it is. I think the draft is the perfect spot to get Nick Harris's replacement as a backup. Nick Harris going into the center role. We've talked about Nick Harris. We can dive into Nick Harris more in the offseason if you guys want to, post-draft, that kind of thing. We're not talking about some of these prospects. You have right now, and we don't know what's going to go on with Conklin past this year, but right now you have 3 expensive linemen out of 5. You have 1 on a rookie contract. You have a 2nd on a rookie contract. And you're looking at you've got the rookie contract of Jed Wills and now Nick Harris. I don't know. And you've got, a decent amount of money with Chris Hubbard. I think that was a great re-signing.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was fine money. I like the Anthony Walker re-signing. We didn't talk about those. Those are kind of just fine. They're fine signings. But with that, I don't know if getting another rookie you have Hudson's rookie contract as depth, right? You have Hance and Dunn as smaller level free agent money. I think it makes sense to get another rookie on that line, rookie contract on that line. Cam Jurgens is really, really fun. So we like to pull these linemen. We want athletic linemen, guys that climb to the first. Cam Jurgens started at Nebraska as a tight end, as a true freshman.
Wow.
So in college, he goes from tight end to center. Now, this is one of the more athletic tight centers you're going to see for obvious reasons. I wrote about it a little bit. So you're looking at a guy, it's going to be another ball of clay for just like James Hudson, right? So not a ton of experience. Like he's explosive and powerful as a blocker, but the technique can be all over the place. It's better than you would think for a guy that's only really played 2 seasons as a center. It's a little further along than I expected it to be. It's not great, but it's not awful. I honestly think he's probably a little bit further on than James Hudson was. He has more starts because Hudson, one of his seasons, I guess Cam Jurgens had a COVID-shortened season as well. But, he's a little bit hurt further on, I think, than Hudson. Hudson, I think, has got a little bit better raw tools, but Jurgens is incredibly athletic. He's a really fun prospect that I think is a really nice scheme fit. He's got similar skill set to Nick Harris, so that there's not too much of a drop off or a change should you go from there. So I wanted to highlight Cam Jurgens real quick, and I wanted to bring it around to the big fella in the middle from Kentucky, Marquan Mccall at defensive tackle. I like Marquan Mccall a lot. I took him at 202. I've seen him. I think he's firmly on day 3. I think for most people, not a ton of pass rush ability. So, he's kind of somewhere in that range where he's kind of a one-dimensional kind of guy. You're looking at 6'3", 342 at the combine. Oh. He had like a 373 as his official weight on Kentucky's website. So he's a big boy. This is what I thought Andrew Billings was going to be, man. Like, this dude you don't push Marquan Mccall around, man. You just don't. He is a space eater, a block eater. He has great gap discipline. He is going to plainly he will keep your linebackers clean. That's the issue. We got smaller athletic linebackers like JOK. We don't need the linemen climbing to the second level. We need running backs unsure of where to go so JOK and Jacob Phillips can come flying in. That's what Marquan Mccall is. Now, you're going to watch Marquan Mccall and you're going to say, hey, listen, he's 342 pounds. He probably can't rush the passer. Not consistently. I don't see – he's got some pep in his step, right? He's got some explosiveness to him. I don't see motor issues. There's some consistency issues, some issues with his hands, his hand placement, his hand fighting. It's not where you'd want it to be. But again, we're looking at a day 3 prospect where you're like, hey, you do one thing well, let's see what we can have. We're in the point now where drafting on day 3, you're at the roster level that day 3 can be these developmental athletes. We're there. We're getting there. We're finally there. Now, maybe not there at defensive tackle. Like, I get it. Maybe we need some more there. But I'm going to tell you, man, you're going to put Marquan Mccall tape on at 342. And you're going to do what I did. You're going to be sitting here and you're going to be like, okay, and then you're going to like it. Because Marquan Mccall has a spin move in the pass rush game that he will bust out. It doesn't always work. He'll bust it out every once in a while at 342 pounds, and he'll just whoop, spin just like that on a dime. And the linemen are so baffled, it feels like, from time to time. They just cannot see a guy of this size make that kind of move. It's not consistent, but he's got a really fun, really nasty spin move that makes you go, what is going on here? Like, that is awesome. And so that's where I am.
I just want to ask our resident draft expert, do you think it's possible that the Browns draft 2 defensive tackles?
I think it's more likely that you sign one and draft one, because I don't like this class. For me, like, Devontae Wyatt will be 24 this month. He's gone. Jordan Davis is going to go too high, especially now that we don't have a first-round pick. I'm not crazy about Jordan Davis anyway. Doesn't offer next to anything in pass rush. He's a 2-down player, and I don't like that in the first round. It's Travis Jones for me in the second. It's Otito Obana. I can't say his name. The kid from UCLA, and it's Marquan Mccall. And there's some other guys. John Hinton's fun. Jonathan Ridgeway is all right. Like, you've got some guys that are. I don't see it falling in such a way where 2D tackles are worth it. Like, not if you're trying to. You don't have starters right now. You do not draft 2 starters in this draft.
That's
not without a first round pick.
I'm curious to see where they go with defensive tackle now.
It's going to be fun because maybe I'll venture into the defensive tackle water next week on my mock draft for or something. I got a question real quick, and we'll bring Ed on for some final thoughts here. What are the Browns going to do about special teams? But I don't know. Like, I love Jakeem Grant because that is a dude who is successful in housing kicks in the NFL. I love it. Greg Zerloin is still out there, the kicker. My dream, go get Greg Zerloin. I'm fine with Cameron Dicker or Cade York. Cade York seems to be the analytical pick. If you're going to go in the draft, this gets brought up a lot to me in the spaces. We don't want to see two rookies again, a rookie punter and a rookie kicker, like we had with the Hammer and Seibert. Personally, it's a much better punter draft. I want Matt Ariza. I want the punt god in Cleveland. And so if it's me, I would love to get Greg Zuerlein in Cleveland to kick, and I would love to go Matt Ariza in the draft so that we can do that. We're gonna bring Ed on because I know he's got a final thought, and we're gonna round table it this way. I'll go to Ed, I'll go to Nick, and I'll wrap up my final thought, and we'll get you guys out of here.
Well, I do have a final thought, Jacob. But
Okay.
One thing about Ed in Columbus is we all know he's about himself. I love me some me. My birthday is on Saturday.
Yes.
Kelly went to Dairy Queen and got me this little Dairy Queen ice cream cakes thing here. And you know what? I'm going to sing happy birthday to myself. Happy birthday. Na, 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 na. They say it's my birthday. Da, na, 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 na. I hope I have a good one. So here we go. Let's get, you know what? Blow out this. Go Browns. Great show, guys, tonight. My final thoughts are, we got to come together as Browns Nation. And like I said, those that need to take a time out, that's fine. Come back when you're ready. I like the on-field product. I like what we got coming up in the draft. One thing I'll say is not having, a first-round pick. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of maybe boring the first day or whatever like that. But here's the one thing. I'm not saying this to brag or say anything about what's going on, but isn't it nice that we don't have to worry about who our quarterback's going to be? Like, I know there's got some things with him, but
yeah, because I'm even fine with Jacoby Brissett for whatever.
Yeah. You know what?
Not for a full season. I want to go down that road, but yeah.
What was weighing me down is when you run it back with Baker, you just don't know what you're going to get. And it's like I thrive off emotion and excitement. I want to be excited about the Browns. And this takes the excitement to a completely different place for me.
I can't argue. I can't argue.
Nick, what you got? What you got? Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I think I kind of just hit on it.
Okay.
But yeah. You know what? I'm taking it slow. I'm really looking forward to the press conference. I hope a lot of really good questions are asked, and hopefully we can have some answers, some clarity, and take that kind of step.
Mary Kay recently made some comments on YouTube or her podcast in relation to Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski's thoughts on Deshaun Watson. I'm not going to say I have not watched it yet. I've seen some people paraphrase it. I would suggest going and looking at it because it addresses who they think he is as a person, not in grave detail or anything like that, but it does kind of give you at least some semblance of where their thought process is on this. The Browns are smart, guys. This is my final thoughts. They know it behooves of everybody to find some sort of resolution, whatever that is. Rather it's, whatever it is, they're going to want to know what the outlook is. They're going to want to know what a suspension looks like. They're going to want to know what his overall availability is like. I'm sure they probably have a better idea than what we do. Cause I have heard anywhere between, 4 games in a year. I've heard all kinds of things from people that I like. I did hear Jake Burns say the other day, and I thought he said it really well when he said, he was talking with Brad Ward. He goes, I'm going to start at a year and work backwards so that should it be less than a year, I'm good to go. Should it be a year? I was already expecting it, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's a really good. So for me, I think they understand that, they want, the legal system's going to play out the way the legal system's going to play out, right or wrong. I'm not going to get into any of that stuff, but I think the Browns want to know. I think Deshaun Watson wants to know. I think we want to know. I think everybody deserves to know when this stuff will play out. I don't know when we're going to get an answer or when that is, but I do believe that they are going to work to, I wouldn't use the word quickly because that's not how anything in the government works.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to work to, as quick as they can, find some sort of resolution to this.
And I want to apologize if we came off callously towards Baker Mayfield.
No.
I think a lot has happened in this very short cycle, and there's a bunch of stuff with Baker. Like Baker's somebody posted, and I think this is the best way it sums up. Somebody posted a picture of Baker as young Anakin Skywalker, and then somebody posted Baker as, Darth Vader, right? And it's kind of like that's been the flow of it in this very short time, and it's just weird. But I think
it's been wild. It's been wild, man.
I'm like I said, I'm always going to appreciate what Baker Mayfield did for us. I just things are kind of complicated right now, and I'm just wish him the best. I would just like a little bit of closure at this point. I think I know it's only been a few days, but yeah. And that's really my final thought on that.
I don't think it'll take.
Nick, would you agree though? It's still better than painting him as Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, probably.
I got to give a shout out to Drew in the Brick City. He wished me a happy birthday, and I love me.
Yeah.
So thank you, Drew, and once again, congratulations to MC Lawrence, our shirt winner tonight.
Yeah,
from Zabo.
yeah.
So
MC, I will DM you, and we will get you your shirt because you are awesome. Please, if you consider supporting us, we have a Patreon link where we give you lots of extra little funsies, like a group chat on Twitter. Obviously, the shirt giveaways. Jacob does film studies. We've got some more things in the works for you. But thank you to everyone. This has been I can't remember.
48.
Oh, I know it's 48, but who? Ernie Green. This has been the Ernie Green episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. That's Ed. Go Browns.